Let's explore the life of Princess Stéphanie of Monaco, her early days steeped in fairy tale glamour, her heartbreak, her restless search for genuine love, and the lessons she learned that still resonate with those who have witnessed her public metamorphosis. This is a tale that combines Hollywood charm, courtesy of her mother Grace Kelly's film star legacy, with the formal traditions of Monaco's royal family. Through the ups and downs, the romances and separations, and her ultimate quest to define herself on her own terms, Stéphanie's story offers a genuinely human portrait of a woman balancing the weight of a legendary lineage with her own personal dreams. Stéphanie Marie Elizabeth Grimaldi was born on February 1, 1965, in the Prince's Palace of Monaco. At first glance, her childhood might seem straight out of a fairy tale. Her father, Prince Rainier III, was a ruler determined to modernize Monaco, famed for its casino, luxury hotels, and as a haven for the wealthy. Her mother, Grace Kelly, was Hollywood royalty who had starred in movies like Rear Window and High Society before giving it all up to marry Rainier in 1956. By the time Stéphanie arrived, Monaco had become a glamorous epicenter, attracting film stars, tycoons, and aristocrats from around the globe. The city-state's image of sophistication partially stemmed from Grace's aura. Many credited her with injecting style and refinement into daily royal life. So from day one, Stéphanie was born into a world of wealth, headlines, and extraordinary expectations. Yet palace insiders recall that Grace was determined to give her children, Caroline, Albert, and Stéphanie, as normal a childhood as possible within palace walls. She insisted on time for picnics, bedtime stories, and a measure of discipline. Observers often noted how the Monaco royals felt more relaxed compared to other European dynasties. Grace apparently relished her role as a hands-on mother, personally dressing her children for school and encouraging their creative pursuits. However, formality was always in the background. Stéphanie grew up in a swirl of official events, fancy dinners, and charity galas, where her every step was quietly noted by staff, the public, and the media. Inevitably, she learned from an early age how to walk the tightrope between being a normal child and a public figure under constant watch. From the start, Stéphanie had a rebellious streak. Where her older sister Caroline was described as studious and conscientious, Stéphanie showed signs of impatience with strict protocols. She once told a friend that if she had to bow one more time before dinner, she'd rather not eat at all. This youthful defiance took the form of pranks on palace staff or rolling her eyes during the more boring official ceremonies. Her parents' response was a combination of amusement and gentle caution. Grace, in particular, tried to channel Stéphanie's restlessness into constructive outlets like sports, dancing, and music. By her early teens, Stéphanie was known to be athletic, enjoying horseback riding, gymnastics, and even dabbling in fashion design. Then came that life-changing moment in September 1982. Grace and Stéphanie were returning from their country home, Rock Aigle, to Monaco. The official narrative states that Grace, possibly suffering a minor stroke or losing control on a hairpin turn, veered off the road. The car plunged down a slope. Stéphanie sustained injuries, including a fracture, but survived. She later recounted memories of the crash in a few interviews, describing the horror of hearing her mother's labored breathing, the confusion immediately afterward, and the desperate attempts to get help. Grace was rushed to a hospital but passed away the next day, devastating the entire principality and capturing headlines around the world. The tragedy weighed heavily on Stéphanie. Rumors circulated that she, not Grace, had been driving, but no credible evidence supported this claim. Still, the tabloids persisted. Whatever the cause, the young princess carried guilt and heartbreak, thrust into a spotlight she never wanted. People close to Stéphanie say this event triggered a certain defiance in her. It was as if she decided to live life fully, by her own rules, since she had seen how quickly it could be snatched away. In the years that followed, she displayed behavior that tabloids labeled wild, forging a reputation as a party princess. She was often photographed at late-night clubs, socializing with celebrities or rumored new boyfriends. Some believed this rebelliousness was a coping mechanism for her grief. Indeed, the same palace corridors once lit by Grace's calm elegance were now home to a young woman trying to break free of sorrow and the palace's constraints. In the mid-1980s, Stéphanie pursued a passion for fashion. She briefly studied design, launching a swimwear line called Pool Position. Fans praised the collection's youthful vibe, but critics dismissed it as a vanity project. Sales were modest. Still, for Stéphanie, it was a statement. She could create something of her own, separate from her mother's acting legacy or her father's realm of monarchy. She also tried a music career. In 1986, she released a French-language pop single titled Ouragan. To the surprise of many, it became a hit in Europe, topping charts in France. The music video featuring her stylish presence turned heads. While she wasn't the most polished vocalist, she conveyed a raw star quality. For a time, Stéphanie's image transcended the usual princess narrative. She was a pop singer, a budding fashion figure, someone forging an independent path. Yet while these pursuits garnered attention and a loyal fan base among younger audiences, they also exposed her to critics who saw her as just another privileged royal playing at stardom. If there was one domain where Stéphanie's name continually surfaced, however, it was romance. Beginning in the late 1980s, her personal relationships became the subject of feverish public interest. It wasn't just that she dated frequently, it was the type of men she chose. Rather than courting princes or aristocrats, Stéphanie showed a penchant for everyday figures, or at least men outside aristocratic circles. In the early 1990s, she had an affair with her bodyguard, Daniel Ducrouet. Outrage poured in from more conservative sections of the press. How could a princess date her bodyguard? Yet for Stéphanie, Ducrouet represented a grounding influence, a man not enamored by the pomp of palace life, someone more real, more approachable. They married in 1995 after having 2 children, Louis and Pauline. The ceremony, though overshadowed by tabloid chatter, was an emotional moment for Stéphanie, who seemed eager to build a stable family life. Barely a year later, paparazzi photographs emerged showing Daniel Ducrouet in a compromising situation with another woman. The pictures quickly went global, igniting lurid headlines about infidelity. The humiliation was intense. For Stéphanie, it was an especially cruel blow. She had believed love could transcend social differences. Now she found herself again at the center of sensational reporting about heartbreak and betrayal. By 1996, the marriage ended in divorce, leaving Stéphanie once more labeled by the press the tragic princess with yet another failed romance. Undeterred, she continued to follow her heart. In 1998, she married her former bodyguard, Jean-Raymond Gottlieb, though the palace never confirmed an official wedding date. They had a daughter, Camille, born in 1998. Once again, the relationship faltered. Publicly, Stéphanie addressed very little, trying to shield her children from the media circus. Yet paparazzi trailed her every move, capturing photos of her wandering European cities, occasionally looking distraught or determined. If the public expected remorse or repentance, they never quite got it. Stéphanie seemed unwavering in her pursuit of authenticity, even if it clashed with royal norms. Her personal life took another surprising turn in 2003, when Stéphanie wed Adans Lopes Perez, a Portuguese acrobat from a traveling circus. The story was so sensational that many doubted it at first. Was the rebellious princess really living in a circus caravan? In fact, she had grown close to the circus performers after attending an event with her children. Enchanted by their community and simpler lifestyle, Stéphanie found a sense of freedom among them. She traveled with the circus for a while, engaging with life away from the gilded palace corridors. By marrying Perez, she again broke conventional expectations. Unsurprisingly, the press had a field day, calling her the Runaway Princess. Yet those close to her claimed she was simply following her heart, seeking a space where the constraints of monarchy didn't hold sway. The marriage, however, ended in divorce in 2004, a heartbreak that reaffirmed her tabloid nickname as the princess with perpetual romantic chaos. Amidst these highly publicized relationships, one can sometimes forget Stéphanie's roles beyond the tabloid front pages. Over the years, she has been active in philanthropic efforts, particularly with organizations focusing on AIDS research and children's welfare. She served as a goodwill ambassador for various causes in Monaco and beyond, though these endeavors seldom grab headlines the way her romances do. For instance, Stéphanie founded an outreach program for children in need, leveraging her status to raise funds and awareness. Many observers believe these charitable efforts reflect a compassionate side shaped by her mother's example. Grace had also been deeply involved in philanthropic work. Indeed, people who've worked with Stéphanie in these endeavors describe her as empathetic, often quietly visiting hospitals or centers without seeking public applause. When you peel back the layers, Stéphanie's life story reveals recurring themes: a longing for normalcy, a fierce devotion to family, and a yearning to prove that real love transcends aristocratic bubble. One lesser-known anecdote from the early 2000s underscores her devotion to her children. When tabloids published invasive pictures of young Louis and Pauline, Stéphanie confronted photographers outside an event, demanding respect for her kids' privacy. Witnesses recall her calm determination, quite different from the fiery image portrayed by the media. She told one journalist, "I'm a mother first, a princess second. That's the only way I can keep my head up." As time passed, Stéphanie's place in the public eye shifted. The chaotic swirl of her younger years gave way to a more subdued presence in her 40s and 50s. Monaco itself transformed, with her brother Prince Albert II, assuming more of the official duties after Rainier III died in 2005. Stéphanie stepped aside from the daily governance of the principality, focusing on personal projects and philanthropic work. She embraced a quieter lifestyle, making fewer public appearances, granting only the occasional interview, often to promote a charity or event close to her heart. Still, any major development in her personal life sparks fresh interest. For instance, reports in the late 2000s and 10s linked her to a new relationship. But the coverage was less frantic, perhaps because tabloids had shifted focus to younger royals in Britain and other places, or maybe because Stéphanie's own openness about her life had tempered sensationalism. She's recognized now as a grandmother. Her children, Louis and Pauline, have grown up, forging their own paths. The press occasionally highlights Pauline's activities in fashion or Louis's presence at official Monaco events, drawing parallels between them and their mother's rebellious streak. Meanwhile, Camille too steps into adulthood with her own social media influence, occasionally sharing glimpses of family warmth that Stéphanie never quite experienced publicly in her own youth. For an older generation of viewers who remember Grace Kelly's elegance, Stéphanie remains a poignant figure, a living extension of Grace's legacy, yet shaped by a more modern, turbulent era. While Grace's marriage to Rainier had been a glossy fairy tale, Stephanie's romantic journey reads more like a roller coaster, revealing the raw edges that come when royal duties clash with human desires. She's had to navigate a world that thrives on dissecting royalty, especially any sign of scandal. Over the years, some historians and journalists have debated whether Stephanie's personal choices damage Monaco's image. Others argue she breathed fresh life into a rigid system, daring to love without apology. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. She's a product of both her heritage and her own convictions, a free spirit bound by tradition. Despite the criticisms, Stéphanie continues to attract empathy from many who see beyond the tabloid headlines. They consider her a survivor of tragedy, a mother fiercely protective of her family, and an individual determined to be more than just a decorative princess. In that sense, she reflects broader cultural shifts around monarchy and celebrity. She stands among the first wave of royals forced to cope with a 24/7 media appetite that merges Hollywood sensationalism with old-world titles. If anything, her experiences helped pave the way for a more modern understanding of how royal families must adapt to relentless public scrutiny, long before social media amplified those pressures further. As for controversies, the gossip about did she or didn't she remains in the background. Was she truly rebellious or merely a romantic searching for sincerity? Did she relish the tabloids or dread their intrusion? There's no simple answer, and Stéphanie herself has rarely offered clarifying statements. She's left the public to interpret her story through glimpses and anecdotes. Yet perhaps that enigma is part of her appeal. Each new relationship, each short-lived marriage seems to highlight that even a princess is not immune to heartbreak, to the hope that this time might be different. That very human longing resonates with many who've faced their own cyclical ups and downs in love. Looking at her life more broadly, you see a figure who challenged conventions. She dated who she wanted, engaged in creative endeavors, and championed philanthropic causes dear to her heart. She never tried to emulate her mother's cinematic grace, nor did she fully embrace her father's formal approach to monarchy. Instead, she carved out a unique identity. She learned, perhaps the hard way, that personal freedom comes at a cost, especially when your face is on every magazine stand in Europe. Yet her insistence on living authentically, whether that meant launching a pop career or traveling with a circus, stands as a testament to the possibility of forging one's own path amidst a backdrop of inherited privilege. Today, Stéphanie is 60, appears more settled. The swirl of her earlier romances has calmed, and she invests her time in her children, her grandchildren, and her philanthropic work. She continues to lend her support to causes like the Fight AIDS Monaco organization, reflecting a sense of empathy that may very well stem from her personal experiences with sorrow and adversity. Occasionally, she appears at events with Caroline and Albert, the three of them representing the next generation of Grace Kelly's legacy, forging unity despite their differing personalities. And as she stands there, sometimes sporting a few wrinkles that speak to a life well lived, observers remember the rebellious teenager who lost her mother too soon and spent years finding her own direction. And that wraps up today's video. If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up, let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and subscribe so you won't miss out on future uploads. See you next time.